What's up, guys? You know, we tested several portable SSDs on our channel, Tech Brothers, and they are really convenient for use on the go, for example, with smartphones. Some of them even have magnetic attachments, so you can attach them to the back cover of your mobile device. However, the data transfer speed of portable SSDs is much lower than the built-in SSDs. For example, the best portable SSD we tested had a read speed of 2000 megabits per second, but now we have a built-in SSD that is claimed to have 7400 megabits per second read speed. It is almost 4 times faster. However, we still need to check the read and write speeds of this SSD, which we will do in this video. By the way, I also have an SSD enclosure, so we will try to make it portable. So this is a PHIXERO HyperCore H7400, and let's start our review by unboxing it. On the box we can see the main specs of this SSD, such as 1TB capacity, 7400 megabits per second read speed, PCIe 4.0 NVMe, M.2 interface and protocol. The back of the box also has a list of technical specifications. I am especially interested in 3D TLC flash type. We will talk about this a little later. By the way, I noticed that the manufacturer of this SSD is Shenzhen Orica Technologies. This is the same company that makes portable SSDs we tested earlier. In the box you will find the SSD itself, along with a user manual, screwdriver, fastener and thermal vest. I don't think we will talk about design of the PHIXERO H7400 SSD for long, because there is nothing to talk about. This is an M.2 SSD that you can connect directly to the motherboard via an M.2 slot, and it also supports SATA and PCIe or NVMe interfaces. By the way, the SSD has protective films on the front and back, but I am not sure if I need to remove them. I found a picture that says that this is a thermal conductive sticker, so probably we can leave it. Before using the SSD, it is better to install a heat dissipation silicon pad and a copper cooling vent on the top of it. Done. Now it is ready to be installed in a computer or other device, such as a game console. In my case, it is a mini PC. Fortunately, my mini PC supports 2 SSD slots, so I don't need to install a Windows OS on the new SSD, because it is already installed on my first SSD. Since the PHIXERO H7400 is a brand new SSD, we need to initialize and format it. That's very easy to do. Just right-click on the Start menu and then select Disk Management. Here you will see unallocated storage. Click on it and complete the initialization. Now you can use SSD to copy and store files. By the way, I have a 1TB version, but actually 953 GB is available. Before testing the speed of the PHIXERO H7400, I would like to tell you about its technical specifications. This SSD features PCIe 4.0 or PCIe Gen 4 technology, which offers twice the data transfer speed of a PCIe 3.0. The SSD uses TLC flash memory with 3 layers per cell, reaching 2400 TBW. It is really good for a 1TB SSD for under $100. Now let's finally check the read and write speeds of the PHIXERO H7400 SSD. I think this is the most important part of our review. I want to remind you that the manufacturer claims 7450 megabits per second read speed and a 6500 megabits per second write speed. By the way, this picture shows that SSDs with a capacity of 2 and 4 TB have a higher speed than those with 1 TB and especially 512 GB. Okay, let's get started. As you can see, I got 70-86 megabits per second read speed and 52-17 megabits per second write speed. So the read speed is very close to what was advertised. Although the write speed is slower than promised, it is still very high. I also want to check the actual file transfer speed. To do this, I collected almost 100 gigs of video files and copied them to the SSD. First, I see that the transfer speed is very stable, from 900 to 1000 megabits per second. Sometimes it is even higher than 1 gigabit per second. Overall copying 100 GB took about 2 minutes, which I think is very fast. You know, I also have an SSD enclosure, and I want to check if it can be used with the PHIXERO H7400. So let's move the SSD from the mini PC to the enclosure. The SSD fits into the enclosure, and now we can connect it to the computer using a USB cable. Yes, SSD has been detected and is ready for use. As for the SSD speed in the enclosure, it is 997 megabits per second read and 995 megabits per second write speed. This is much less than when SSD is installed in a computer, but that's because my enclosure supports maximum of 10 gigabits per second data transfer or about 1000 megabits per second read speed. This is what we have achieved. You can use some better enclosure for faster data transfer with the PHIXERO H7400 SSD. So this SSD has a really high read and write speeds, up to 7000 megabits per second. I tested it with a mini PC, but you can use it in your desktop, laptop, PS5 or even external enclosure. I also like that this SSD comes with a silicon pad and copper cooling vest for longer service life. By the way, I think it is better to buy the 2 TB version, because it is only $20 more expensive than the 1 TB version, $109. I will leave the link in description. Thank you for watching, see you soon!